Hello, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Tech Talk with Ethan. And today I'm here with Johnnyangel Pineda, who is a costume designer. Thank you so much for joining me today, Johnny. Could you tell us a little bit about how you got involved with costume design?
So in 6th grade, costume designer was always at the school after hours, mornings, working on the show. And I lived across the street from the school. I literally said to my mom, I'd be like, I'm gonna go see what they're doing. Bye. And I walked out the front door, walked into their classroom, and I was like, it's like 6 at night. And I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm making costumes for the musical. And I'm like, do you want help? And he's like, sure, free help. Come on.
Yeah.
So he immediately, he actually put me on an overlock machine, which if anyone knows how to sew, usually you don't learn until you've learned this regular sewing machine. So he put me on a hard advanced machine right off the beginning. And then after I was like going on that, he was like, oh wait, you're actually really good at this. And I was like, this is fun. And he's like, great, do you want to learn how to use an actual sewing machine? And I was like, oh, this isn't an actual sewing machine. So I started there in middle school. And he taught me, I say that he taught me how to make a costume by any means necessary. He's that type of person where he's like, hot glue, staple, hand sew, whatever you need to do to make it work, make it work.
That's great.
Then and then in high school, I went to a performing arts high school because I was, in my mind, I was going to be an actor dancer. So I went to this performing arts high school where I, again, stumbled into the costume room being like, hey, I have this skill. If you need help, let me know. And she was like, yes, please come help. So once she noticed that I was actually rather advanced coming in my freshman year, she really focused on me and honed my skills to teach me technical costuming and technical sewing skills versus the like guerrilla get it done style I had known before.
Yeah.
And then by my senior year of high school, I was actually commissioned by the city of Fresno to help design some of their shows that were touring to local high schools and different events and things. And so little 17-year-old me being 1099 commissioned by the city of Fresno, fully designing. And then since then, I've just been designing as a passion. But over the past, I'd say 8 or 9 years, it's really grown as like as a career for me.
Yeah, that's crazy how like from such a young age, you started off and you've kind of grown from there,
Yeah,
that's amazing. So did your mom did he teach you how to sew, the teacher, or did you already know how before?
well, it was funny because my mother always did needlecraft and she knew how to sew by hand, and my grandmother would always do cross stitching. So it was in my family, but anytime, it's funny because it was the same with tap with me. Anytime a family member was like, let's teach you this, I was like, no, I don't want to do that. Or I was in kindergarten and a tap teacher came up to me and was like, you'd love my class, join my class, it'd be free for you. I was like, no, that's for girls. Come to find out, like years later in high school, I was like biting at the bit to get onto those things, how to learn how to sew, how to tap dance. But yeah, the middle school teacher, he taught me how to thread a machine, how to run it, and all of the basics.
That's great. That's great. How'd you switch from tap dancing to costume design?
Definitely. In high school, thankfully I went to a performing arts high school where they really encouraged you to like do everything and venture into all fields. So in high school, I was like, I'm going to be a tap dancer. I'm going to take over the world. I'm going to bring tap dance back into the regular world. And it wasn't but I was doing costuming on the side of that. To me, tap dancing was the focus and costuming was like the background thing. Although I was like getting paid to do big shows and like designing shows on my own at a very young age. It wasn't until I moved to LA in 2013 where I was like, oh, tap dancing is really hard to get like noticed and to pay the bills with, where costuming has a huge need and there's constantly work and requests for stitchers and assistants and this and that and all that. So it wasn't until I moved to LA and was trying to pursue them both that I was like, oh, costuming pays the bills and I'm really good at it and I actually really like it as well. Let's go with it. Let's focus there.
Yeah, well, yeah, that I mean that's true because with tap dance, you could have a gig, you might not have a gig, and it's like I think with like you said with costuming, it's like show, and you need everyone to pitch in to help,
Yeah, definitely.
which is great. Have you done other aspects of technical theater other than wardrobe?
I have actually. Also in middle school, I was taught a lot of lighting and sound.
Hmm.
Um, and I never thought it would help me, which is why now I'm a huge advocate. If you're in school watching this, learn as much as you can, do everything you can, get your hands on everything while you can. Because I work at the Broad Stage in Santa Monica, and when they're open, I'm also their lightboard operator and their A2 operator. So,
Hmm.
but I've done everything. I've worked box office, I've worked ushering, front of house management, dressing, light hanging, light board operating. I dabble in programming, but I'm not the best. Somebody's probably way faster than I am. And even, I do sound, and now I've started getting into video editing due to the pandemic. You just sort of have to
Hmm.
now.
Yeah, exactly. That's
Yeah,
great
so
you're triple threat or not triple threat. I mean, all jack of all trades. That's the word.
yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
Yeah,
jack of all. Just everything, learn as much as you can. And be like someone asks you, I can do this, so I'll do that too, and just
yeah.
bring it all together, which is great.
Yeah,
I
I've done everything. I've ran rails. The only technical position in theater I say I have not done, because I've even done management side of it as well. The only side I haven't done is rigging, and that's because rigging scares me. So
Yeah,
that is out of my wheelhouse.
yeah. Where'd you go to high school? What performing arts high school?
Oh, I went to Roosevelt School of the Arts in Fresno, California. It
Nice.
was started in the 60s and it's still going.
Nice. Well, it's funny you mentioned performing arts high school because I actually go to performing arts high school too,
Oh,
in
cool.
Long Beach, and I'm taking technical theater, and just I love the thing I love about theater is just the hands on the theater's hands on and technical theater's hands on, and that's the way you learn best, which I think is great.
Yeah.
Exactly. So going into your costume career, you've done a few types of costumes, cosplay, and other varieties. Do you have like
Yeah.
a favorite you've designed or genre of costume?
Oh man. I mean, I started in theater and then quickly moved into cosplay.
Hmm.
I love cosplay and drag queens because they're willing to just go for it. They will go all the way, get the look, do the big thing, wear the giant 2-foot hat.
Yeah.
I really find that in that, and you can in theater as well, but I feel like in cosplay and drag, you get to really play. You just have a much bigger sandbox and the world is your oyster.
Yeah.
Um, so as far as the question's favorite outfit, was it?
Hmm. Yeah.
Oh man, I'm trying to think of a favorite one. There's so many. It's so hard because they're all sort of your children, especially when you work with them for so long.
Yeah.
Um, I would have to say that of the outfits, there's two actually. Okay, there's two that come to mind immediately. First is my Queen of Hearts look. It's a red ball gown with a heart. Yep, that's it. And that's me in that photo.
That's great. Well, you're the queen or you're
Yeah,
the
that's me
nice.
as the queen. Yeah.
That's great.
So it's this giant red ball gown with a 3-tier hoop skirt, but the details are really what makes that one a lot of fun. Is I used I think about 5 or 6 deck of cards in the actual outfit.
Oh wow.
On the hat that's on that outfit, that's a deck and a half of cards that are all folded to make a little miniature top hat. And
What?
then
That's crazy.
on the bustles of it, I had hand cut cards into hearts and then put stones on them and then beaded them and turned them into a beaded fringe of
Wow.
playing card hearts on the bustles and on the hem of the skirt. So there was about a 5 or 6 deck of cards used in that, which is so much fun. It's such a delicate outfit though, because the cards immediately fall off because they're so paper thin.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's so much fun to look at.
That's great. Is it common for costume designers or cosplay to like mix and match different things together to make a design?
Definitely. And this is why I'm so thankful for the way I learned, is that first designer who's like, anything that works, use it. If it does the thing you want it to do, make it happen. Because especially cosplay, drag a little bit, and even with the club kid movement of the 90s, is it's found objects. Whatever you can to make it happen. I have used some weird things. One of my constant go-tos is actually wire hangers. I will cut up wire hangers and bend them into whatever shape I need. In a recent look, I used plastic hangers and rulers for most of the headpieces that I was doing in a recent production.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's great. Going to drag stuff. So for drag, what's your inspiration for a drag costume?
Oh, that's a great question. When it comes to drag, it's so much of an art form within itself and an expression of so many different things that a lot of times when I'm designing an outfit for a queen or for myself or something, it's really, what are we trying to say? Which is a lot of times what you're doing when you're designing for theater. Is like, what is the emotion we're trying to evoke? What is the idea? What is the thought? Rather than just, hey, look at me, I'm in a pretty dress.
Yeah.
So a lot of times I'm trying to figure out what to evoke and all those things. So I always start with, how do you feel? What are you trying to say? Like in 2013, for Halloween, 'tis the season, I one year just said, I feel like a peacock. I want everyone to look at me. I want to be the biggest thing out there, and I want to be colorful. And I was like, that's it, peacock it is. So 2013, I made myself a 6-foot wide articulating peacock tail, and then a balloon costume to go with it. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's top notch right there.
It was a lot, and I spent a lot of time, energy, and money on it, but it was worth it.
That's great. For any like cosplay or costume, do you find yourself trying it on yourself to make sure you think it fits your critiques, or do you find
It's a little, I should say, it's a little naughty secret, is I will most of the time in theater cosplay drag, I will put the garment on that I'm working on. I have dress forms, but for some reason, I just always do that. And my favorite saying, which if anyone is ever in the studio with me, they'll always hear me say, if I can get into it, they can get into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's I mean, it's a good thing, because sure if it fits, so it's good to try it on,
Yeah.
That's great. For cosplay, do you design and then do you sell them to people for like Halloween costumes, or how'd that work?
Great question. So a lot of times I'm working with, I don't really do any like quick sales or anything like that. Like some designers do. They have something that they'll have ready and they'll just sell them on Etsy or whatever. My work is completely custom commission work, because that's sort of what I grew up doing in theater, was like learning, oh, okay, we need to build this thing for this person. Let's make that thing. So a lot of times people will talk to me and be like, hey, I'm interested in doing this character. And once they tell me what they want, I look at, okay, what's the cost of materials? What's the hours and labor? What is the, emotional toll as well? Because sometimes those are just me going, I'm going to have to sit there and put in 60 grommets. I'm not going to be happy about this. And then I create a quote based on that and then give it back to them saying, hey, here's the fabrics I researched. Here's the time it's going to take. And here's what I would charge for that. And then they either accept it or don't. And, and my job is to basically just be as transparent as possible and say, these are all the things that I have to consider when making an outfit for you. And it's the same thing for theater companies. If they're like, hey, we want you to do Gatsby, or we want you to do, Zombie Prom. I go, great. There's X amount of characters, there's X amount of outfits. If I'm buying or renting, I can estimate about X amount of thousands of dollars or whatever.
Yeah.
And I can say, this is the ballpark for the budget. And for me to do this, I need X amount for my time and energy.
Yeah.
And then, then you go into negotiation with theaters. Unless they come in with their own amount right off the bat.
Yeah.
Then I either have to say, okay, for what you're asking, we need to cut some corners, or this just isn't going to work. Like, we need to rediscuss this. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. How long does it usually take you for a cosplay or drag outfit in general?
I'm it's actually sort of funny because a lot of my friends that I work with who are stitchers are like, you're very, very fast. If I'm in a crunch, I will knock things out in 1 to 2 days.
Oh wow.
The longest it takes me, like, I know the Kid Icarus photo was up recently. That whole look took me less than 24 hours. I like went in just furiously making that
Yeah.
thing. The time suck on that one was actually the wings. The wings were custom made, and the wings alone took 16 hours, which I did 16 hours straight.
Okay. Yeah.
And then the rest of it, which I built the props and the bodysuit as well, that went together really quick. So I'm a very fast person when I'm building. I always tell people, give me 2 weeks so I don't feel crazed.
Yeah.
But if I really have to, which a lot of my queens, they get the girls that I work with often get the luxury of, hey, I need this in 2 days, and I'll go, only for you will I do this.
Yes. Yeah. There's special people, they call up and it's like, I need this, now. And it's like, I can get you by tomorrow, like, we'll be fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Wait, and that's like, so like you said, like 2 days, like, is that working all day, or like you like take breaks in between, or like how you splice your time out?
Definitely. That was a hard thing for me to learn as an artist and as a craftsman, was to take breaks and to manage your time properly. Because can I do it in 2 days? Yes. Am I going to be happy with myself and feel good afterward? Not really. I will be so beat and I'll be drained and I'll have to pass out for a day.
Yeah.
So I'm still working on it. Honestly, I think it's a constant journey with me, is to focus on taking those breaks. And when I am, that's when I'm putting out the best product and the best feeling. Like, honestly, coming out of a project, feeling good is also a huge part of it for me. So in a perfect world, I'm taking breaks. I'm taking a 15 or 20 every 4 hours, and I'm only working 8 hours a day.
That's reasonable.
Yeah, in a perfect world, I'm in my sewing studio for 8 hours a day. More often than not, I will pull 24 hours left and right, but we do what we got to do.
Exactly. Time is money, money is time, they say.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Do you have your own like studio in your house that you work in?
Yeah, currently, because I've had my costume company, Prismatic Costumes, for about 10 years now.
Okay.
Only this past year, surprisingly, since the pandemic, has it really exploded. So I have a studio within my apartment that is, my industrial machines, my dress form, my steamers. Literally, I have every tool a functioning costume shop could ever need. But I'm actually looking towards the end of this month on renting my own sewing studio space and opening up more for commissions, as well as opening up to more schools and more theaters when that time comes.
That's great. That's cool. So you have done cosplay, you've done drag, going to so right now you're where are you? You're in a costume shop, I'm guessing, right?
I am. I'm at a costume shop. I'm at Ursula's Costumes in Santa Monica, in their basement, really. It's Halloween season, and she called me in saying, hey, I need some help. And I said, of course, for you, Ursula, anything. She does theatrical rentals, as well as personal rentals. And so I'm helping running her rental department this season.
Nice. So for cosplay, do you do rentals on your own, or is that just...
Cosplay and drag I mainly do for commissions. It's purely commission work.
Okay.
I am looking to, however, launch coming in January or February, depending on pandemic timing. Looking to launch a drag rental service. So for girls who are just starting, or girls who are doing competitions or pageants or things where they don't want to shell out hundreds of dollars for a custom made outfit, but they still want a really good look, I am looking to start that soon in the LA area.
That's great. You currently work at the Presenting House.
Yes.
Could you explain what a Presenting House is?
Definitely, yeah. So I work at the Broad Stage in Santa Monica, which I think I've mentioned. It's a presenting house versus a producing house. So a producing house, which I think is what most people think of when they think of theater, is, hey, we're going to do Hairspray, and we're going to cast the show, we're going to find designers, build the sets, build the costumes, and all of that, and then we'll put it up for however long, 2 weeks to 6 months. And then when the show's over, we'll put all that stuff in storage and deal with it next time we do Hairspray or something close to it. That's a producing house. We produce the show. Where a presenting house is, we own this theater and we're going to find cool theater that we really like from around the LA area or from around the globe. And we're going to say, hey, I really like your show. Come work on come perform it at our stage. And then they bring their whole show over. And we've shipped shows from London, from Spain, like, and I mean shipping shows, like huge sea tainers on giant sea like ships coming across the ocean with their set and costumes.
That's crazy.
And so we present different shows of all different scales. Yep.
Nice. What's the biggest shipment of, you say shipment, what's the biggest show you've had there? Definitely.
We had a show that our theater was not ready to take on. We were too small of a theater. It was called Born for This. It is an amazing show. If you don't know, they're trying to get it on Broadway. They're working really hard to. It's an amazing show about the story of BB and CeCe Winan in the 80s and 90s. They were the first people of color on an evangelical TV Christian channel, and they were both amazing singers. Eventually went on to pursue their own careers. But this show was a cast of 20 with over 300 costumes.
Oh, wow.
And on top of that, the sets were huge. They were over 18 feet tall.
That's crazy.
20 feet wide with motor pieces, and almost every set piece came on based off the motor. We built a second stage and then had a motor track built all under it that literally had 6 or 7, 8 different lanes up the stage that would bring pieces on and off and on and off and constant motion. It was a really huge show.
and you did costumes for that show? Or did you?
I was actually maintenance and repair team. So there were 7 people on that show. We really needed like 12 or 14, but there were 7 of us. And the first day of tech, they go, okay, we need 1 repair and maintenance person. It's not the fun job. You don't get to be dressing actors. You don't get to be here during the show. You come in at 9 a.m., you wash the clothes, you iron the clothes, you hang them up, you repair a button or a snap if you need to.
Yeah.
And then you go home when the show starts. And everyone in that room, myself included, was like, it's not going to be me. They all just kept looking around of like, who's doing it?
Yeah.
And I stood there and I was just like, okay, fine, I'll take it. And they're like, we're so sorry. You know, it's one of those jobs that has to be done. They're like, and your hours will probably be a little bit smaller than the run crew, the dressers and the wardrobe technicians. And I was like, okay. But oddly enough, due to the craziness and the massiveness of the show, they actually kept pulling me on to the run crew as well. So they're like, you're going to get the least hours. And then they're like, actually, since you're available, can you stay?
Exactly.
For that show, I worked 6 weeks, but on average, I worked 16 hours a day, 6 days a week.
Wow. That's a tight schedule right there. That's like...
Yeah. That one day was just me collapsing.
Yeah. I bet. I mean, like 16 hours, 6 weeks. That's like quite a show.
Yeah. It was a Broadway run. It was a Broadway scheduled run. So we did 8 shows a week or 9.
Yeah.
I can't remember. It was a blur.
Yeah. It would be.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I mean, I'm guessing they called you for run crew too because you had experience with costumes and all that, right?
Yeah. So I originally was the like I said, the maintenance team, but then they would be like, hey, we're having a difficulty with this change. We need an extra dresser. Or hey, so and so is going to be out tomorrow because they have things to do. Can we pull you on? And I'm just like, okay, fine, pull me on.
Yeah.
Like I'm pushing like 60, 70, 80 hours here sometimes. I was like, all right. And then on top of that my 7th day, that Monday, we're supposed to be dark. I think it was like every other week. So it's 3 times throughout the run. They'd be like, hey, can you come in and do dry cleaning or like do a deep clean on the costumes?
Oh, yeah.
And so there were some weeks that I was working 14, 15 days straight.
That's amazing. I mean, it's amazing, but also like stressful. How do you manage stress in those situations?
Well, it was funny because in the costume room, this is again a little like backstage secret. We had a list on the wall and we wrote the dates of like, okay, these are the day everyone cracked. Like
Oh
so and
yeah.
so, broke down crying in the laundry room
Oh
on this
gosh,
day.
yeah.
We just kept track of it. Thankfully, I never did that.
Good, good, good rule.
For me, it's just, I just keep smiling and just smile through it. That's really all I can do is just, this is temporary. It'll
Yeah,
eventually pass. As long as I'm, not passing out, literally like collapsing, I'm good. I'm a
yeah.
workhorse. I will go, go, go.
But I mean, it's what you love, so it's like you have to, gotta put the work in, and but yeah,
Yeah, definitely.
that's great. It's actually Halloween almost. Saturday's Halloween. I'm guessing
I
you're
know.
big. You crazy excited? Is it?
I I'm excited and nervous. It's like a double-edged sword for me. I love Halloween. I personally don't dress up because I dress up all year, but I
Yeah,
love watching other people dress up. It's my favorite thing in the world. Um, but I'm super excited to see what happens in the festivities, but I'm also super nervous because it's coming close and I still have so much to do.
yeah. So I'm guessing your workload gets hectic around October time, right?
Yeah, literally Halloween season, basically from the end of September to October, I will pull all-nighters almost nightly. I
Oh
will
gosh.
be like literally, so I was in the costume shop yesterday until 8 p.m. I had
Okay.
one of my clients come by at 10:30, drop off a dress that she had just bought and needed alterations on. And then she came back the next morning and was picking it up at 8 a.m. and I was back in the costume shop by 11 a.m.
Oh wow.
So it's just the
Fast
turnaround
turnaround.
and the times are just going. It's just go, 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 go.
That's. I'm guessing you have a list of all the things you gotta get done. Like you make lists of things you need to get done.
Yeah, I do. Project management is a huge thing in costumes, especially
Hmm.
because there's so much and even so little things that you can't show up to Tech Week and you're like, oh, I forgot to sew on that button or I forgot to put in that zipper. Like you
Yeah.
have to hit all the details. I use a notebook, a pocket-sized notebook, and I keep that with me at all times. It's in my bag currently, or else I'd show it to you. But in that, I keep the notebook, I keep the times that I'm working so I can keep sort of a track of myself and be like, okay, I'm overworking myself.
Yeah.
Uh, and then I keep just lists in there of like, okay, these are all the things we get do. And I separate them by must do's and would be nice. Must do's are like, if this doesn't happen today, the world's going to burn. And then the
Yeah.
would be nices are like, if we finish these, let's move on to these.
Yeah. Have you ever gotten through a whole entire list of to-dos?
Nope, never.
No?
Never. Never.
Yeah.
I always get through my must do's, but I've never gotten through the whole list. It's just a rolling, keep going
Yeah.
list.
I mean that would be the dream, right? To be like, I'm done with every single thing. I can like relax, like go like, you know?
I I think if that day comes, that's the day I retire. That's like there's nothing left to do.
Yeah.
My
But
relaxing days, and I do take days off whenever I'm like the first, taking that completely off.
yeah.
Disappearing from the world. I'm gonna turn off my phone, turn off social
Yep.
media, and I'm just gonna play Minecraft for a day. Like,
Definitely. Yep. Yep. That's the game.
yep.
Amazing. Amazing. Could you explain the design process of cosplay or design process in general of your costumes?
Definitely. My process, I have a very rigorous process over the years I've developed it. Um, is to always, first and foremost, my rule is to always be 100% transparent with whoever I'm working with, whether it be a theater, cosplay commission, drag queen. And oddly enough, that's the number one reason people come back to work with me because they're like, I have no questions of where you're at, what's happening in the project, or anything throughout all of this. And
Uh-huh.
so my process is usually I'll start with a discussion. We discuss what are you looking for? What are you trying to achieve? What do you want? What are the goals? Then from there, once I have a good notion of what they want, what they're looking for, I'll move on to a sketch or like research image gathering. Because
Hmm.
I think a large part of where a lot of people run into problems, especially in theater and in private designing, is that there's not a source image there that we can both look at and go, this sleeve or this color, this
Hmm.
thing, and they can go yes, or close. Anytime I've ran into trouble, it's because I haven't gotten a source image or a source sketch done. And we're both like, yeah, this is what we both mean. And then we finish the product and we're like, oh no, we were on 2 different pages.
Yeah.
Or we're on the same page, but on the front and back of it. Like, so concept, source image, and then for anyone who's trying to start a business or work in theater, deposit, get part of the money so that you're both in the game together. I always say a 50% if you can. And then from there, you start buying materials, what you need, and all that stuff, and you start the construction process, which is a process within itself.
Yeah, exactly. Where do you find your materials for costumes?
Definitely. I get all of mine downtown for the most part. I've very recently started ordering online from places like moodfabrics.com. You just sort of have to do it in person though, because it's the feel of it. I always get super nervous when I'm buying stuff online, and I always make sure that, if I'm buying it, that I'm prepared to maybe buy a second thing because that first one's not exactly what I thought.
Exactly.
Yeah, so mostly in the downtown fabric district, but I've started venturing on fabric purchasing online.
Yeah, with online, it's because you don't know how the quality of the thing you're buying,
Yeah. Or the weight or the different things. There's so many factors when it comes to fabric.
Yeah, exactly. That's I mean, do you see yourself using going to when we were in person, we would go outside and go to fabric stores? Have you seen yourself using thrift stores as places to get fabric?
When I started, yeah. And sometimes in an emergency, definitely.
Yeah.
When I started, completely, all of my stuff was thrift store made. Thrift store, find a good curtain, hack that up, make it into something else, or bet a really cool sheet or something. Fabric's fabric at the end of the day. But even to this day, if I'm like, I need a quarter of a yard or a little square of red gingham, I'll pop down to the thrift store, buy a red gingham shirt, lop off the sleeve, like make it a short sleeve, use the bottom part of the sleeve for my costume, and then I have a new shirt as well. So
multi-purpose,
Yeah.
Just, that's why thrift stores exist, right? Because you have something, you give it to them, they repurpose it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, it was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for all your input.
Went by so fast.
I know, right? It's great to talk to you. Thank you so much. And remember to tune in next time, guys, next Thursday for another episode of Tech Talk with Ethan. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you. Bye.